So, hi and hi,
Yeah.
Dimitris. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast where we talk about science, sustainability, hydrogen, and desert greening through all different angles and lenses of scientific and engineering fields. So, hi, Dimitris. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, finally it's basically coffee for future this time because it's morning time. So it's actually we're actually having coffee together as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. I'm so happy finally it's in the morning time and we are more focused, I would say. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, this morning we wanted to chat about desert greening in the Arabian Gulf, and because it's like the hot topic ever since desert greening started, it was a hot topic in that region. Um, so let's start with a little bit of like introduction, what has been done in the region, or sort of an overview. There have been quite a few, let's say, glass houses, like sort of projects with as a greening. One of them is the Jordan Forest and Qatar Forest Project, um, and all of them are using somehow water from the Gulf, like the saline waters. Then they desalinate it and use the water to irrigate the glass houses where the production of fruits and vegetables is happening, which is great for the like regional production of fruits and veggies because that was not possible before. And let's say one of the very founders or pioneers of such a method, Mr. Charlie Barton, who started this in Australia actually, has worked in many different areas and is a person, a colleague who knows a lot, especially in this region, and is currently having a project in Morocco, which is not so Gulf, but it's still like Arabia, um, and was one of the carbon X prizes. Was one of the finalists of the Carbon X prizes actually. So this and but generally overall, like the big real afforestation projects, like the forests that have been planted and they're growing, is something that is still in the plans. Like it's still somewhere not being developed, and we are here to talk about that actually and the potential that the whole region has, especially utilizing, let's say, waste streams and wastes to create. This. So do you want to start a little bit about the waste streams in the Gulf, and then just join you?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's indeed a very hot topic since we are trying to exploit it, not exploit it. It's a bad word, like has a negative connotation, but mostly like make use of as much land as possible, especially amidst the ongoing climate change that is accelerating climate change that is actually enhancing desertification. And there is no better place to discuss about this than the Arabic Peninsula, where there was always a vast amount of land that was desert. And in addition, as you mentioned, the Gulf is also, like most of the states, they also have huge waste streams. For example, one of the first countries on a global scale, they also are champions in like the food waste, for example, is the Kingdom of Bahrain. There is a similar trend in general in other countries. The Gulf, we know for a certain fact that Kuwait is also looking very much into into minimizing its waste streams, and they are looking for ways to valorize them as much as possible. So it is an ongoing effort. And yeah, in general, I think most of the countries in the Gulf, and also in the general like MENA region, they are looking for ways for desert greening. So I think discussing today some innovative ways will be also conducive for them as well, and for the stakeholders there, especially the research ones and the ones that have the scientific background.
Hmm. And so, like, if we look at this also from different angles, and let's say cultural angle, and especially let's say this theological angle, yeah, like considering that the most of the Gulf region is of Muslim religion generally, and the Quran says that you should not waste food, like it's one of the very big issues if you waste food, and that you should, of course, 1/10 of everything that you have should be donated and given to charity. And we know, like, generally the whole of Arabic states are very great when specific dates that comes, when Ramadan is, like, of course, this 1/10 goes into like more than 1/10, but during the whole year round, it's not really the case, yeah. So there is a lot of food waste happening there, and not just being donated, like some things are being donated, but there is a lot of food waste, and this is the potential, actually. This is the potential that can be used to generate soil, which is something that is definitely lacking in the region, right? And especially if we like, especially if from our angle, like what is happening mostly in these countries is now that they have mass production of water for irrigation from the Gulf, and this is through desalination plants and different osmosis, and but all the saline waters are being pumped back into the sea, and this, like, that it's one problem, like pollution problem, because it's one of the saltiest places. It is the saltiest places if you don't count the Dead Sea, and salinity is really high there, so much high that I remember at one point there was a BuzzFeed around the networks that one of the sheikhs wanted to pull an iceberg from Antarctica and bring it into the Gulf to, like, fix the salinity issue.
Pretty
Uh,
news, yeah.
which is quite ambitious, and like if you think the ice is being melted, so like why not? But there are quite a lot of other environmental issues. Why not?
Yeah,
But yeah, this is
but
one. Yeah.
indeed, salinity is one of their major concerns. Also, when growing, also when growing, let's say, food forests or any kind of fruit and vegetables that they might have. That's why they basically there is a restraint on the types of trees that can be grown, which makes a very big issue in terms of food security, and that is also where our idea of algae cultivation comes into play, because they don't really depend on the salinity, because they actually want the salinity. They don't occupy land, and this can also be used for this land can also be used for other purposes in that case. And the most important is that they are rich sources. Apart, I mean, we mentioned the idea of hydrogen production, but depending on the algae species, it can also be food supplements. It can also help reduce food insecurity, which, of course, they don't really have to that extent on all of the state, because they actually can import a lot of food. They have this good, at least, fiscal condition in contrast to other countries, but it would be much more like it would be much more desirable for them as well to reduce their food insecurity. So this could work as well, and on the side it can also produce other like other revenue streams, such as the biostimulants we mentioned, or biofuels with a focus on biohydrogen. But it is also a way to actually take advantage of a part of not from their land but from their sea, and actually make use of this then as part of food supplements. So that would be a way to not tackle the issue of salinity, which is really very challenging to tackle. Like all of this saline water, it's very difficult to take care of. And then you actually, through this idea, you don't take care of this, but you actually use it for other purposes, and you still manage to pursue your goals.
In a sense, what you're saying now, you mean to use not freshwater algae, but to use saltwater algae to produce like biofuels and then food supplements, and perhaps like there are different like experiments, and not even experiments, but already proven techniques that you can feed algae to cows. Maybe you can feed algae to gazelles because there are like native gazelles in that region for which they're producing food. So maybe something like this, you mean, and not like focus on like fixing the issue of salinity of the soil and of the sea. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And it's yeah, what you're mentioning about cows is something that has been tried to reduce methane emissions, which
Yeah.
is still at the research level, and it's not so much about the animal feed part as it is about reducing methane emissions,
Yeah.
but it has also been tried because this solution is relatively expensive. But apart from that, it has been tried to to feed, for example, goats through Posidonia oceanica, which is the seagrass that is grown in the Mediterranean, and it is
Mm.
very cheap. So it can also take place with that regard. And so far the results, I mean, they have not been, like the goats have not managed to, for example, continue like I don't know, like live for longer or something, but they keep on living their lives. They keep on having the same results as feedstock, as livestock, I mean, and they through Posidonia oceanica, there has not been any issue reported so far. So it can also function as animal feed, in my view.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree, like of course, but what I was thinking is more of this like traditional way of farming cows, like in Ireland or these coastal regions where cows traditionally do eat algae, and this is where the whole
Oh,
research originated from, was like in
yes.
these parts of Chile, yeah, Chile, the parts of Chile where they like eat some type of, it's like yeah, you said like seagrass, but I don't know exactly what it is. Not
Yeah.
algae, but seagrass. And then the cows were were just like being exposed to it and eating it. And in Ireland as well, but there in Ireland it was like red algae. I think it was like different, something different. I can't remember. But yeah, then this is how then it started, and then of course we don't know if we're the mate, and you have to like really have specific goals and like measurement tools. I don't even know how you could measure that. I always found it very funny. Like we should prevent the actual methane leaks that are happening now, like Nord Stream and stuff that is happening in US, but not cows themselves. Um,
Yeah.
Agree. um, but yeah, but the Gulf region has potential. And then again, when you think like growing any type of algae, even like saltwater algae, has quite a potential in creating like biofuels. And then if we look at the phytoremediation of the saline soils and the possibility to do that with certain vegetables and certain plants, like Salicornia, for example, that really loves to grow in salt soils and extracts the soil. And there's the thing, like there were quite a few experiments and that proved that like Salicornia and carrots and this different like hardy but cold weather vegetables grow very well in salt soils and have better taste. Like they taste better because they extract the salt from the soil. So like carrots are more crunchier and have more this like yeah, just more taste to it. Yeah. So this is something Salicornia would definitely grow in that region of like carrots and the potatoes and other root vegetables would most likely have to be grown under glass houses. But since they already have the most of their production of food in the glass house, is not a bad idea to try to look at it from that angle. And especially when we look at when we talk about the tree like the mother tree or the king's tree, that is across the UAE, that's protected. You cannot
Yeah.
take it away. It's a tree that really loves salt soils, and it grows perfectly well. and there is no trouble with it. And it's a great pioneering species that could be used to further like plant around, and even olive trees and stuff in Saudi, in the Kingdom of Saudi, and of course with dates. And then there is a lot of production of biomass with all that, and then comes our like further of like cyclical use for the hydrogen production.
Yes, indeed. It's yeah, that is the case. That for example, now we're thinking that there is no biomass. There is not even biomass in the desert, but it all starts from somewhere. And if we start building the ecosystems from let's say the salinity tolerant trees, especially dates as you mentioned, and other similar stuff, and also if we work with greenhouses and we continue to grow there. Um, let's say species that are not endemic, but at the same time they're not invasive. We can have let's say a reference point to start with the biomass, and we can utilize it for hydrogen production. And this can be coupled, of course. This is not restrained to just biohydrogen. This can then be coupled with the solar production. It's all about what we're discussing for a long time: the water, energy, food nexus, and trying to accommodate all through smart land use. And in my view, especially Saudi Arabia, due to its vast land, but also the rest of the Gulf states, they can actually achieve great results if they harness if they harness all of this land in the right way. And this can bring also additional revenue in their economy, but it can also bring environmental value, which I think their citizens, they would really appreciate something like this, especially with the ongoing climate crisis.
No. One thing that I would like to discuss, like, and like this is an open invitation for like a Muslim priest. I'm sorry that I don't know the correct name, like, but it is something that needs to be discussed within this theology and like just like the Quran, some like Quran scholars, because when we talk about the biomass and the waste that is in the whole of Gulf, there is quite a lot of biomass and waste created through municipal wastewater and like collection of it, and the processing plants have quite a lot of waste. But the point is that Quran doesn't, or as far as I know, so I have to like be very clear, as far my knowledge of Quran is limited. So what I've heard from the scholars of Muslim religion that I've talked to is that Quran prohibits use of human feces for soil production and agricultural use. So for me, it would be very interesting to talk to like a really a theologist or like a scholar of the Quran books, and discuss when is it not human feces? Because if we collect human feces, which we have quite a lot, like we have so much human waste and biomass in all of the Arabian, basically in all of desert regions, because it is being processed and it is being collected. And although it has quite a lot of sands, it is very valuable soil. Like if it would be allowed by religion, we could plant massive forests. It would be amazing, yeah. So for me, it is a question: if we use this feces, human feces, and we process it through dark fermentation, which would mean that already the one organism, which is a bacteria, has eaten its way through the human feces. So is it still human feces, or is it now a bacterial feces, which is totally fine to be used in agriculture? So like for me, this is or let's say we don't even stop with that. We let the bacteria eat it, and then we let what we have, this by waste from hydrogen production of human feces, and we use this by waste then to feed the worms. And then what we have is like worm excrement, which is like then top-notch soil. It's like super expensive. But can it be used then for agriculture, or can it not? Like, this is my question. Like, this is a huge potential for the whole Gulf, but this is something that has to be talked with the priests now.
Yeah, this is related to another part that we are planning and we are very much willing to do, which is the stakeholder mapping, the consultation of different, let's say, stakeholder groups within the Gulf states. And of course, this includes the religious groups, because we need to better comprehend also what is behind, for example, any kind of cultural related groups, to understand what are the mechanisms behind all of the waste that is generated, what are the views both religiously and culturally in general of each country that is in the Gulf, and so that we actually find mechanisms to address this and to work together with the local communities, because they are the ones that eventually will need to take these measures into effect in order for us to be able to provide our innovative solutions. So yeah, regarding specifically feces, I think it would be a very good idea. Also, in terms of food waste, there's also the idea you mentioned, worms. There has been an idea about feeding food to insects, and then, for example, using these insects as either as food or as either as feed or as other types of as other types of feedstock, either biofuels or anything. So there are vast opportunities, again, as I mentioned, and what you say is also should be taken into account. And I think, again, it is an open invitation to any kind of I guess civil society that is active there, so that we better comprehend how how to tackle this together with the people, because it is something that apart from having, as I said, an economic value, it will have a value for the local communities. So that is very important, both with religious leaders and with local leaders like municipalities or the likes.
Exactly. Yeah. So for us, this is like something we are gonna work on in the next few months, writing 2 different book chapters for our collaborators from the Kingdom of Saudi, and Saudi's university. So this is something we'll be definitely exploring and researching more. So if you are in this subject and want to talk, please try to connect with us through LinkedIn, where we post the most of our podcasts, but also comments on YouTube are very much appreciated. So I think we kind of had our coffee and our little morning chat of desert greening in this, and just not just desert greening, but like desert greening and these different waste streams and the use of waste streams that are present across the Gulf, the Arabian Gulf. And something,
all of the opportunities, all of the vast opportunities that exist within the Gulf regarding the valorization of biomass, and indeed, but apart from the opportunities, also, as you mentioned, the challenges that we also have to face, and we are open to facing. We should have started that all of this is being done as part of research as well, but it is important to mention it now, at least.
Yeah, I mean, all our podcasts are research basically, and it's us trying to bring our academic research and our knowledge to, let's say, just wider masses and people who are just interested in the topic. You don't have to have any degree, and I hope that we are managing that. I hope that both our language and the speed of our internet and communication is good enough so that you understand us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much, Dimitris, and let's hope this was recorded. See you,
Yeah,
everyone.
I think this was, yeah.